First, I want to define transracial adoption. It's when you put a child of one race into a home with adoptive parents of another race. So you can see some pictures of a black couple adopting maybe a white child, or a white couple adopting a black child. The most common form of transracial adoption in the United States is a white family, a white couple adopting a black child. The Multi-Ethnic Placement Act is a law that passed in 1996, and its amendments now prohibit federally financed agencies from denying adoption based on race. In the past, they would deny white couples from adopting black children because they would simply say, you're not qualified to raise a black child based on your culture, because you couldn't raise them in a black household. But we have all these kids that need to be adopted, so why would you want to kind of stop them from adopting these kids? However, this has not altogether eliminated this problem, and adoption placement agencies are still influenced by race even today. So some lawsuits that happened, according to the New York Times article, Overcoming Adoption Racial Barriers since 1994, there have been more than 24 discrimination lawsuits filed by white prospective families to overturn being rejected about adopting a child of another race. The McGruer family is one example of this. In the article, a white judge initially denied Nick and Emily McGruber, a white couple in Rome, Missouri, petition to adopt a black child because they were uniquely unqualified to parent a black child. Of course, rulings like this occur all over the country and proves that transracial adoption can be a lot harder than most people believe. So most people think that with this fad going around that they can just adopt a black baby. In fact, lawsuits happen every day because they can get the child through foster care and then try to adopt the child. Judges can come down and deny them because they might be uniquely unqualified. Just a history of transracial adoptions. Transracial adoptions have a history of being controversial and causing problems within races. According to the book, The Ethics of Transracial Adoptions in 1971, the National Association of Black Social Workers issued a public statement denouncing the practice of whites adopting black children as a form of genocide, in fact. And the reason behind this was that they thought only a black family could raise their black children and properly teach them about their own culture and traditions. And in the book, James Bowen asserts that black adoptive parents are better equipped than white adoptive parents to teach black children how to survive pressures in a racist society. However, this was in the 70s, and a lot has happened since then. Quality of life. However, when one is talking about adoption, survival is not only the major worry. The real concern is quality of life that child will receive. If this is a factor, why does it matter what race are the parents? Is it in fact good to keep a child in foster care and you have parents willing to adopt them to give them a better quality of life, even though they might not get the same society, cultural upbringing that they would in a black household? Is that fair to that child? Bowen, the NAAHP, and Bowen both agree that if black families cannot be found to adopt, transracial adoption should be used rather than putting the child in foster care. Our society tends to believe that culture and race seem to define a person to their core, and this creates the belief that people should grow up with one specific culture. In the book, The Ethics of Transracial Adoption, it says that advocates of racial society presents black culture as a fixed and necessary for racial self-understanding. And this brand of cultural nationalism treats black children as passive receptacles of culture, cutting off the possibility that they could be active navigators of cultural forms and lifestyles. So basically what this is saying is black culture is a fixed entity, and that if they do grow up in a white household or in a household of a different race, then they're lacking culture. But culture is more than just a fixed entity. It's whatever your experiences are, whatever your history of your people are. So how can you deny just because of one thing? Just because of culture is what we bring and what you have to your own experiences. By now allowing black children to be adopted by families who aren't black society feels that they will not learn or be exposed to Black culture, and tends to limit our understanding of what culture can be. Without growing, the Black culture will be static, and by allowing our cultures to grow and mix, it will create a better society overall. Transracial adoption is a perfect example of culture being mixed without eliminating the foundations of either. If a Black child is adopted by a white couple, that child will learn its history and gain a knowledge of culture that those growing up in solely Black households wouldn't necessarily get. They will learn white cultures and have a mix of both without eliminating, like I said, the foundations of either. Allowing those to grow up in a society of mixed cultures like transracial adoptees can provide society with a better understanding of just how much we need to grow altogether. That in recent years, transracial adoption of our white celebrities have been increasing. We have like Sandra Bullock at the bottom, and Madonna at the top, and Charlize Theron all have been examples of celebrities adopting African American children, or going to Africa and adopting kids there. So many different celebrities have started to adopt children of color, and it makes you wonder if this is a new trend of some kind and how it will affect our society. So that versus reality. In the article I read, Transracial Adoption by White Celebrities on the Rise, it says that according to the CDC, vital health statistics indicate that 84% of white adoption seekers would prefer to accept a Black child. And it seems that more people have become more accepting and open-minded about transracial adoptions. Some in society might think celebrities are just following the trends of transracial adoption. However, adoption is not an easy whether you're a celebrity or an average person, and it's the same process. You have to apply, you can't be denied. Anyone who can disregard the social norms and create a mixed race family should be applauded, because even with the Black culture and even with white culture, those who have mixed race families are still judged even today. The conflict of self-identity. We've all heard the stories of children who grow up in mixed race households having identity crisis and not knowing which box to fill in when describing their own race. So when you have a family of mixed race, this will be an issue that we need to talk about. Once a child has been adopted into a mixed race family, when they get older, they might experience a conflict of self-identity. Transracial adoptees have to deal with options others do not have to think about. One, do they drift towards their own culture, the culture of their parents, or do they have to find a way to incorporate the two different cultures into their lives? In the journey of Black identity and transracial adoption, he writes that transracially adopted children are likely to have a separate identity from children growing up in a Black family. But we can argue that there are no reasons to believe that this practice is damaging to the children. Even though the children who have been transracially adopted might feel they are separate from experiences all of their own culture, in exchange they are being exposed to a mix of cultures that include their own plus those of their adopted parents. With people increasingly growing up in environments that blend the different cultures of children and parents, it allows our society to understand that culture just isn't unambiguous or a fixed concept. Your authentic self. Most of the identity issues that children from transracial adoption feel is that they want to find their authentic self, which has their connection to their own birth parents and might not be their adopted parents. In the book Birthmarks, Transracial Adoption in Contemporary America, Daniel Jacob, a transracial adoptee, says he has resisted the idea that his birth parents are the only avenues through which he can discover his true self. He believes that the concept of an authentic self linked with genealogical origins seems overly simplistic and denies the influence and importance of his adopted family in shaping who he is. Many believe that the transracial adoptees focus on what they do not know about their birth parents and believe it can help them solve what they do not know about themselves. Jacob is saying in this that rather than focusing on what you do not know, think about how your life has turned out and how much your adopted parents have shaped the lives. Jacob believes that he is producing his product of his life experiences, and so we should accept that transracial adopted parents hold more influence over the children than the birth parents will, just because they might have been a different race. So, at the end, my question is: so is it really worth it? Is transracial adoption worth all the social and psychological impact that it creates? I personally believe it is, because everyone grows up and deserves to be in a loving home and a loving environment to grow in. However, parents should make an effort to teach their adoptive children about their own heritage and culture so they can get that mix of both. Race should not be a factor in turning people down for adoption. It just provides people a better chance to grow as better human beings and have multiple cultures dividing them.